Welcome everyone to January 29th version of Friday Market Insights. My name is Ian Lusher. I'm a partner and portfolio manager with Genus Capital Management, and I'm here with Mike Thiessen, who's also a partner and the director of sustainable investing. So, Mike, we had a little bit of an exciting week. What happened in the markets this week?
Yeah, this week was very exciting. A lot going on. The market was down over 3% this week. The big news that I'm sure everybody has heard about, everybody's talking about it, is the GameStop short squeeze. We can get more into that later. So that's kind of weighing on things. Also, technology companies did have disappointing earnings this week, and there's trade disputes and production issues around the vaccine. So more uncertainty there. People are wondering, when the economy is going to be getting back to kind of the pre-COVID kind of levels, when we're going to be getting over this pandemic, and with all the delays in vaccines, then it seems less certain when that time is going to be.
Right. So, given a volatile week, how does it affect Genus clients?
Yeah, we were quite well positioned for a week like this. So for a while, we have been very confident in our positions in financials, in industrials, materials, and we've been quite neutral in IT. So technology did take a hit this week, but being neutral, it didn't affect us too much. And of course, we don't have positions in GameStop. We're not short selling stocks, so that part didn't affect us too much, directly at least. So we didn't make any major changes, a few little tweaks. In the next couple of weeks, we'll do some rebalances. And so there might be some changes there, but I'm not expecting anything major.
Right. So you have brought up the name GameStop twice already. I've had 4 clients this morning ask me about GameStop. I had my mom ask me about GameStop this morning. So GameStop is kind of everywhere. To those of you who don't know, GameStop is just a store that sells gaming, very popular for the last, probably, 5 to 10 years. So can you explain to everybody what exactly this GameStop mania is and how this turns into basically affects the entire market with increased volatility?
Yeah, so it's been crazy. So the stock went from under $20 at the beginning of January, and then it was over 400 at one point this week. It was at 350 the last time I looked today. So it's really just skyrocketed. And so there's a few factors going into this. One being that a lot of hedge funds, institutions have been short selling this stock. So they're making money off the stock going down. So that's one factor. The other factor is retail investors now have a lot more power, because they can band together over social media, and retail investors can be trading more for lower cost, because commissions have really come down, especially with some really low cost brokers like Robinhood, and also you can buy partial stocks now through Robinhood and some other brokers. So a lot of retail investors have a lot more power than they used to. So when they started buying GameStop, the price starts going up. And then momentum traders get into that as well, because they see something going up, they get into it. And then a lot of these short sellers, these hedge funds, are cutting their losses, because they realize, okay, we're losing some money, let's cut losses. The way to cut losses, if you're short selling, is that you have to buy back the stock. So they're buying everything back. And then the third big factor for this is that the float for GameStop is very small. So that means that the amount of stocks that are out there for GameStop is a small amount. So when you buy GameStop, you can affect the price more than you would potentially with other stocks, just because there's not the same supply of stocks. So when the short sellers are buying back stocks, it's shooting everything up more. And then more of these hedge funds are deciding that they want to cut losses, so they're having to buy back. It's shooting everything up more. So there's all these different types of investors are wanting to buy the stock for different reasons, and it's just really shooting everything up. So that's what has happened. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks with this stock, because right now it's valued more than Blockbuster, or than Best Buy,
Best Buy.
certainly more than Blockbuster. And Best Buy has a much larger footprint. They are massively profitable. So it really doesn't make any economic logical sense. It's just a technical short squeeze. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Right. So in short, it's a younger generation using new technology to boost the price of a company that kind of is doing old school selling.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting world we live in, but that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing that was causing volatility in the markets this week is some of the vaccine news, a little bit of supply problems, delivery problems with some of the existing ones. And there's also a new vaccine that's been talked about quite a bit from Johnson and Johnson. Some people have called it a game changer. Can you explain to me why some people have thought it's a game changer, and perhaps some of the results that came out of that, their study today?
Sure. Well, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a single shot vaccine. So that's really what makes it a game changer. You don't have to have these 2 shots, which have been, or it's going to be really a logistical nightmare for Pfizer and Moderna to do all these second shots for everyone. It's already been a nightmare for even to get the first shots. But with the J&J vaccine, you don't have to have that second shot. So that's great. It's also better when it comes to production, because to immunize 1 billion people, you just have to produce 1 billion doses rather than 2 billion doses. So they're not going to have the same production issues. But like you talked about, the downside is that the effectiveness of this vaccine isn't as high as these other ones. So it has a 66% effectiveness rate relative to 95 plus for these other ones. So it's not as good. But if you do remember, 6 months, 7 months ago, when we were talking about potential vaccines, a lot of experts were saying that we hope to find a vaccine that has 50 to 60% effectiveness. So that was kind of the threshold back then that they were really wanting. So this does exceed that threshold. It's just not near as good as these other ones when it comes to effectiveness. And the results have been varied based on different countries and regions, which is not great as well. And they have to look into that.
Yeah, I think the news on Johnson and Johnson, by and large, is good. It's just not as good as people may have hoped for. We had our Outlook seminar yesterday, and we had an excellent question that we weren't able to get to from Randall. What effect will Biden's climate initiatives have on our portfolios?
The Biden initiatives, just to kind of recap what's going on. So Biden has a $2 trillion climate plan that he's moving forward. It's intertwined with their economic plan. They have very ambitious goals in various areas. So they want to install a lot of solar panels around the U.S. I think the goal is 500 million over the next 5 years. They're buying fleets of electric vehicles for federal workers. They're investing in a lot of different technologies, infrastructure. So this is really a great jumpstart for the U.S. to move to a lower carbon economy. And they have a lot of really strong targets. They re-signed the Paris Agreement, which means that they need to be carbon neutral by 2050, but they want all of their energy to be clean energy by 2035. And for many of the Genus funds, especially the fossil-free funds, we invest in companies that will do very well in this overall transition. So companies that make components for electric vehicles or for renewable energy, or are involved in energy efficiency projects, which will be really needed throughout this whole period. They will be set up to benefit from a lot of this capital and new infrastructure that's being built.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I've been reading quite a bit about this, and from government initiatives also comes a lot of private activity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've already seen some of that.
Well, that's all we have for this week. Thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks to everybody who was on our Outlook webinar yesterday. If you weren't, it is available on our website. And thank you all once again for tuning in to this week's Friday Market Insights. Have a good weekend.